Live from JMT Studios, it's time for Two Jersey Kids, the best video game podcast on the planet.
What is up, everybody? This is episode 53 of the Two Jersey Kids podcast, the gaming podcast that is Two Jersey Kids. I am the host of the podcast, Adam Buckingham. Alongside me is my best friend, the best stick handler in the business, Gary Seisel. How you doing? Well, I know how you're doing because we sort of had an hour conversation before we even hit the record button. It's always fun talking to you, Gary.
We this start time was sort of delayed, so we're sorry if this episode is getting out to you guys a little bit later than usual. It's already late as it is, but you have to deal with it because we sometimes have discussions about life and where we're headed in life. So that's what the deal is there. So I'm doing well, actually. I feel like every time we had that discussion, I feel like a weight has been taken off my shoulders, you know? So
yeah, sometimes you just need to talk about certain things and life gets in the way. And again, we're sorry that the podcast has not been recorded or wasn't released at 4 o'clock in the morning today. Our schedules nowadays are getting a little more hectic. It's going to be an interesting time. Hopefully, we're gonna have to find time to make this podcast. Hopefully, it'll never be late at night because that's always where I'm more groggy and sleepy. I'm like, oh, hey guys, welcome to the Two Jersey Kids podcast. Like episode 51, maybe? I think that's what it was.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So this is a video game podcast. I know I talked about last week adding value to gaming and only playing games that you're interested in, and I feel kind of bad recording this podcast because I've done literally nothing in the video game industry. I've played absolutely nothing, and that sort of happens when I have things going on, unfortunately. Adult things that I have to deal with, unfortunately. I mean, not saying you can't play video games and be an adult. That's just I need to occupy my time doing other things, if you know what I mean. I don't know if you know what I mean. I'm just saying, spewing things. But, Gary, have you been playing anything? Some more PUBG? I know you've been streaming some more. I know there was also issues with Twitch streaming lately, so I'm sure you'll get all into that.
Well, yeah, so I haven't played PUBG actually for a few days, but I will be playing tonight, which is actually tonight of this recording. I'll be playing tonight and streaming that because it's always a fun time when I do it. Beer will also be involved because that's always necessary.
Consumption. Drink responsibly, folks.
That's actually very true. I've been trying to get everything like sort of in line in my life. Working out, keeping things right, I guess is the right
We've been talking
terminology.
about how beneficial it is to have a schedule before. Because sometimes you can get sidetracked. Like video games are one thing. They're a fun thing, but when you're trying to accomplish certain things, they can get in the way. Like, for example, learning how to code, which I've been trying to do, or reading, I feel like, is a more beneficial thing, and sometimes you need to set time for yourself, and maybe that's what I actually need to do with video games. I need to set time for myself to when to play and when not to, because sometimes if you don't have a time set, you can be playing video games for hours upon end, which we did in high school way back when we didn't have any responsibilities.
Oh, man. That's anybody that's listening that's still in high school or college, stay there. Just stay in as long as possible.
Just if you're in college, don't stay there because that would be too expensive for you when you come out, no matter what major you get.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, other than that, though, I've been playing Destiny 2. I played the Destiny 2 beta on PC, and I'll actually be getting into that a little bit later, I guess, once we get into the news portion of the show. But I want to say this: it was amazing. It's awesome, and I'll get into it in a few minutes.
Oh, so. little teaser. Little tease. Just a tease, Gary. A little strip tease right now. Oh, that looks nice, Gary. I'm liking the way you're looking. I'm just kidding. But
no one needs that.
But before we get into everything, I do want to say, not a shout out, but for everybody in Houston, I feel sorry, thoughts and prayers out for all of you guys. If you're a Jersey kid in Houston, please be safe. If you are a Jersey kid that's not in Houston, please contribute to you can contribute to the Red Cross, give donations, whether it's money if you have that available, or submitting clothing. I know a lot of people in my work have been collecting different things like food and clothing. So do what you can, contribute. It always feels nice when you're giving out helping hands, and that's one of the great things about living in America is that I know I say only, but if this was a third world country, that would have been an even larger disaster. So shout out to the local government there and all the local entities out there that have done such a great job rescuing so many people. So please be safe, and good luck to all y'all. We love you. But we're moving on to This Week in Gaming, because I haven't done much video gaming in general. Most I've been doing is watching people play Hearthstone, but, I mean, that's about it. But Gary, what's This Week in Gaming, brought to you by Gatorade, but not really brought to you by Moby Games. Yay! Gary, go!
All right, so I have one game this week.
You lazy motherfucker.
Well, I'll tell you what. Last night I'm sitting around, okay? I'm trying to get this whole thing together, and I was so damn tired. I played basketball earlier on in the day, around like 10, and then went to work, came home, and I was like, I'm going to die. I'm actually going to fall asleep, like sitting in this chair. So anyway, I found one game, and it's a game that I actually have experience with and am passionate about. I feel like that counts for something, so don't kill me. So the game is ESPN NHL 2K5, released on PS2 and Xbox in 2005. Now, this was the last NHL game published by Sega and the last branded by ESPN. It featured Martin St. Louis on the cover, who is basically a hockey legend for anybody that's familiar with the game. And I didn't really find too much. What's up?
Am I correct in this? You can also pronounce it Martin St. Louis. Is that correct?
No, it's French Canadian. So Martin or Martin St. Louis.
Sorry, I was just trying to be a ignorant American. Sorry.
St. Louis, yeah. So in regards to trivia, I really couldn't find too much crazy stuff on this game. But interestingly enough, this game was actually the first to feature the Heritage Classic, which is an outdoor hockey game that's played once a year. So it became the first hockey game to actually feature an outdoor game in it. You would see that later on in like the EA Sports NHL series. I think NHL 12 maybe was the first one to incorporate the Winter Classic, which is, once again, an outdoor game played on New Year's. Now, the one thing that I have to say about this game that I personally always enjoyed was the franchise mode in it. I always thought that it was really in-depth and kind of ahead of its time. You could scout players, hire staff, edit players, scout new players, and also send players to the minors.
Knowing you, Gary, growing up with you, I know this probably tickled your fancy for sure.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. You could also send players to the minors for training. Now, this may sound crazy to some people, but I always thought the idea of having like the minor leagues in a video game was just like so space age. It was so cool. I could send people down to the minors, have them improve their games or train. That's just such a cool thing to me. And
until the minor leagues, when it came to MLB The Show, was kind of a pain in the ass to deal with.
True.
When you're trying to run an organization, you have single A, double A, triple A, everybody getting injured. You're just saying, computer, just handle all this shit. I don't want to deal with this right now.
Well, that's the thing. Baseball's a pain in the ass. Like hockey, there's just one minor league. That's it. And then you have to worry about nothing else. But baseball's a pain in the ass. But so the franchise mode in this game was awesome. This is honestly one of my favorite hockey games of all time. Maybe maybe my favorite. I'm not really sure. But this game ultimately did very well, just across the board. Metacritic rated it an 86%. IGN gave it a 9.2. I think that was for both PS2 and Xbox, so I don't think it differed at all. So yeah, this has been This Week in Gaming. I hope you all enjoyed. It was fun looking up that one game and focusing on it. Yeah.
That little quick This Week in Gaming. We're only 8 minutes in. Normally, when it's around this time, it's normally when I'm rambling on about some random thing going on in my life. But so
not related to This Week in Gaming.
No, we're just smooth sailing right now. So I guess we'll just get into the news now, Gary. Does that float your boat?
Sure. I mean, sir.
It's not really news. Well, I guess there's sort of news. You have like a little article in there as well. But because you have a PC now, you're in the Steam, you're the PC master race apparently nowadays. How you feeling about that Destiny 2 PC beta?
Well, we're finally here, folks. I cannot say how much I love the Destiny 2 beta on the PC. I played it on the console. I got a chance to. I actually pre-ordered it on console, so I'll be playing it on the 6th when it releases. But the PC version is just so much better. It's hard to describe unless you actually play it. It's not something that you're going to watch on Twitch, for example, and be like, oh, yeah, this is so much better. No, it's something you have to sit there in front of a computer and actually use the mouse and keyboard to play the game. The gunplay, the gameplay mechanics are just... It is, though. The gunplay and the gameplay mechanics in the game have just been so fine-tuned for the PC to the point where you can just, like... The movement and everything just feels so right and precise. So they really did a good job with it. Other than that, though, I mean, it's basically the same beta that you played on the console. The missions were the same. You played the Inverted Spire Strike. You played the Homecoming story mission. And then the only difference really was there was a new map that was basically featured in I guess it was the casual Crucible, game type thing. So yeah, that was the one small difference. But seriously, the game, yeah. But yeah, seriously, the game on the PC is much better. If you have the way to play it on the PC, I would very much recommend it. It is just so good. But do you want me to get into?
Is it launching around the same time that the console version is, or is it later?
Oh God, no. That was way later. Yeah, so you have the September 6th release date for 360, the Xbox One, and the PS4, and then on PC it's coming out October 24th. So it's quite the gap there.
I'm assuming you're going to grab the console version because you're a Destiny fanboy and you drink the Kool-Aid, so you're going to hop on as soon as possible.
The game's actually already installed on my console, so yeah.
Are you fucking shitting me?
Yeah, you can pre-download it. I was like, all right, pre-download. There you go. But yeah, do you want me to get into the Destiny DLC rumors here?
Yeah, do it.
Okay. So apparently, Destiny 2 has, I guess, leaked in some way. What else is new? Everything gets leaked nowadays. There's no such thing as surprises anymore in the video game industry. But yeah, Destiny 2 DLC apparently is going to feature Mercury. It's going to, I guess, focus more around that. It's going to have a new patrol zone set on the planet. So it's just something else to keep in mind. Apparently, it just should be interesting in my opinion. If you've been a fan of the Destiny game, it should be fun to play. So it's a little tidbit there to satisfy y'all out there. Adam, take the wheel back.
But unless you want me to get into I'm giving the wheel right back to you because you're doing Battlefield 1 DLC that's happening too. Because these are the two things you know so much more than I do. Because that's not you. That's few and far between, let's be real. Just kidding.
That's hilarious. Okay, so I probably should have split this up now that I'm thinking about it. But the Battlefield 1, this is getting into the Battlefield 1 world now. Apparently there's a new expansion on the way called In the Name of the Tsar. Apparently it just got a release date.
Sorry. This is what happens. My brain is like a jukebox where certain things click. And I start singing something. I may sing it wrong, but I'm singing it nonetheless, and I'm sure all the Jersey kids out there are so excited right now. This is a quality podcast. Let me tell you, Gary, on a scale of 15 to 93 right now, I'm sure people are loving it right at 92. Why not 93? Because there's always room for improvement. Am I right?
Oh, I like how you spin that. Okay, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, In the Name of the Tsar is coming out on the 19th of September for PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox Uno. So for those that are really interested in what actually is coming with this expansion, I can give you a brief synopsis. In the Name of the Tsar includes 6 new maps, new weapons, new vehicles, the new supply drop mode, the Hussars. That's how they pronounce it on Google Pronunciation Translator. I had to look up the pronunciation. And apparently it also featured the Russian army. So the DLC also adds the game's first multiplayer character. Female. Did I say female? I think I said female. But yeah. So, just something to keep on the radar, I guess, if you're a Battlefield 1 fan. I know I was into this game for quite some time, for quite a while, actually. I was playing this, I guess, daily. But I haven't been back to it, actually, since the They Shall Not Pass DLC. It just kind of hasn't called out to me to play. I've been occupied with other things, especially on the PC, obviously, with PUBG and, all that jazz. So maybe it's something I'll peek into. Maybe it's something that you should, like I said, if you're involved in the Battlefield 1, world like I was. So just keep it in mind. Adam, officially take the wheel now, please.
Take the wheel
from me.
It's been a while since I've done this, but because I just it was kind of like an interview with Eurogamer. I'm just going to sort of read most of the article. Maybe not the beginning, but they just had a discussion with, they don't think they offered the full name, but it's somebody at Obsidian, how they had the ability to create a Game of Thrones game, but I think they sort of passed on it. I don't know, but we're going to start off with a quote. Quote, "My feeling was understanding the IP at the time. It's about this political intrigue and people's connections." I should point out, I think this was around 2005. They were offered the opportunity to make the game based on the story. So from there, let's continue. I am fucking top notch right now. It's the well-oiled machine. My brain's just, when you were talking, my brain, sorry, I was trying to listen, but it just sort of gotten off on the rails when you mentioned Uno. You said Uno, and I started thinking about the card games. Like, wow, I really haven't played Uno in a while. And that's a very severely underrated card game. Am I right, Gary?
Yeah, it's underrated. I haven't played it in years, but yeah, absolutely.
I think I have a pack somewhere in my house, and I don't know. I really just got the hankering for some Uno. You're looking at me like, why the fuck are you talking about this right now? And shaking your head, but we're going to start with a quote again. My feeling was understanding the IP at the time. It's about the political intrigue and the people's connection to the IP is to all of these characters. That's how the books are written. Each chapter is a person and what's happening to them. Somebody at Obsidian recently said, it continues, other than what weird stuff is going on beyond the wall and the dragons and some hint of fantasy and magic, there are no magic users, there are no clerics, no thieves. Basically, there's dudes with swords and armor and a little bit of mysticism, but within the main land, the Seven Kingdoms, there's no goblins, no kobolds. And the vice president, Chris Parker, added, you can't give the player a character they can play that is important in the world. All the important characters are clearly spelled out, and you can't even go into that conversation with them. I think they're talking more about how, when it came to, it's like an example of KOTOR, where they couldn't touch the main series because they can't do anything relative to that, and they sort of thought about doing other different things, like in the Lord of the Rings War of the North setting. I think that was more of like just kind of like Battlefield capturing points, where you can't really do much in the main story because these characters are so well versed. You can't have anything affecting them because, one, that's not canon, and I doubt you'd be able to. And it's kind of interesting to think back that they were offered this and they never really got around to it. Back in, who would have thunk that Game of Thrones would become this titan that it is nowadays on HBO, and they're having multiple spin-offs. I mean, I think there's like 5 in the works. They have like 4 writers right now for 5 spin-off series. Who knows what that's going to be? But I mean, realistically, who would have thunk that it would have taken off like this? And you kind of think back and you wonder what exactly would this have been a hit? Would people have been excited about it because Game of Thrones wasn't the huge success that it is now? Would people even care about it? It's like, oh, what the hell is Game of Thrones? Like, why is this exciting? I'm sure people that read the book may have been excited about this, but at the time, it doesn't have such the huge fan base that it does now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a cultural phenomenon. I don't know if it really would have worked though back then. I mean, I know I kind of wanted to talk about whether or not this Game of Thrones game in general would work. I still don't know if it would work now. It might be more. It might gain more publicity today, but back then though, I mean, it could have been. I think it would have succeeded if it was like a real-time strategy type game where you have like you take control of like the Lannisters or some sort of family and you try to conquer the entire Seven Kingdoms. That'd be kind of cool.
Kind of like the board game.
Yeah, but other than that though, I mean, it might be hard. I guess if it's good enough, people will buy it. But it might have been hard to kind of create something on a book and expect like the mass populace to just be like, oh yeah, Game of Thrones, great, I'll buy it.
They did release. I do remember there was a Game of Thrones game that was just. I don't know when it was released though. It's not the Telltale one because that's just a story being told, which makes more sense in this sort of setting. But they released actually more of like an open world game, and I can't quite find it when it was released. I just know it was piss poor. It was probably because it wasn't developed by anybody of legitimate stature like Obsidian, or like if it was BioWare, for example. I'm sure it would be a lot better. You make sense with the real-time strategy aspect because that would fit in more with what Game of Thrones is, because that's why people were sort of into it, is because it was more political intrigue. It wasn't a high fantasy like you see with Lord of the Rings where there's large battles left and right. It's more about the political background of moving forces around, and I feel like a real-time strategy, actually like a Civilization style, or like you said, real-time strategy, could have a more beneficial impact in Game of Thrones, because it doesn't, a lot of times real-time strategies I don't think would affect the licensed property in of itself, because it's just a large army and they're saying, oh, it's like when you play Civilizations, the fucking I don't know, the Mongols magically took over the world. That doesn't really actually happen. It doesn't affect the property that is the planet Earth.
Now, as a counter argument to my previous argument, I think this game actually could work as an RPG as well, because if you think about it, this is how I always explain to people that aren't Game of Thrones fans. Like, I've had friends that have recently gotten into Game of Thrones because of how I described it.
Good luck, folks. Itself, you're in for a ride.
That's what I said. That's actually what I said to them, too. The funny thing is that Game of Thrones really isn't about dragons or, isn't really about just the White Walkers in general. It's about the interactions that all these families have and all the relationships and all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Like you said,
that's why
political intrigue and
people
stuff.
love the shows. They like the interaction between the characters. They're so well written.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that if they made an RPG that, like, if BioWare made it, for example, and you had a really good character-driven game that was in the Game of Thrones universe, it would be amazing. But it's hard to do, I think. And people associate. What's up?
I think they would need to do something along the lines of what happened with KOTOR, where they need to go prior to things that happened in the past, or maybe in the hypothetical future. Who knows? But something
depending
that
on how the show ends.
Just nothing that actually connects with the story in of itself, the main story that's right now on HBO. And so they have the freedom to do what they want. They have the freedom to tell the story that they want to. That's why KOTOR, I think, succeeded, is because that also existed way before what was happening in A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back, and even the prequels.
It's fresh.
It's
something new.
It has so much breathing time because it happened so far before those movies that you could tell a story and feasibly end up in a different spot like what happened in the movies. I mean, it's just because it's so far prior to it.
Yeah, it makes it. There's no creative restrictions. You can go in any direction you want because it's basically you're creating a new world essentially, even though it's in the same world or universe.
And I think it could succeed in if you have obviously any game can succeed if it has a solid developer behind it. But if you have a BioWare or Obsidian that's dealt with Fallout or dealt with Mass Effect or dealt with these large open worlds where they have solid dialogue between characters, because like you said, that's what people love about Game of Thrones is the interaction and the choices between, I guess, quote unquote good and evil, which would, I think, work pretty well in this game. It'd be actually kind of funny if in the Game of Thrones RPG is if you're a good character, the game gets more and more difficult just because good characters never survive in the world that is Game of Thrones. And I think it also is a different take because Game of Thrones is not really, it has some fantasy elements with magic and I guess dragons, but it's mostly set, you don't see these random characters like high elves or dwarves, or it's just set with actual human beings that what if they were in this type of setting where it was more magical, they would still be just as brutal and just as ruthless, just like what happened in the medieval times. I mean, that's what this game was based on, or this book was based on, the War of the Roses back in medieval England.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's the thing that makes Game of Thrones great is that people that aren't really big fantasy fans. I know my sister is one of those people. She doesn't like Star Wars, doesn't like any of that stuff, but she loves Game of Thrones because it's it's there's a semblance of humanity in the show that people can hold on to, even though there's dragons in it. It doesn't take the dragons don't necessarily take away from the realness of the show itself. So
and they never really introduced the high fantasy until. Now it seems like that's where it's more of a thing where it's still grounded in quote unquote reality. There's not too many high magical elements in Game of Thrones, and that's why I think they did so brilliantly in the show. I can gush about Game of Thrones all the time or for fucking hours upon end, but they introduced it in a great way where it was more political intrigue. It was more just actual characters. They didn't introduce a lot of magical elements to it, and they just sort of brought it along slowly but surely and people were invested in these characters and they wanted to see them succeed, and now this last season that's going to happen in unfortunately 2019. But it makes sense. I think the showrunners need to take a chill pill, slow it down, try to flush out the final portions of it, and now because it's going to... The end is going to be very fantastical, a lot of battles and everything. It's going to feel kind of like Lord of the Rings, I feel like, with the large-scale battles that are going to happen. But at least now you've gotten to the point where you have people invested because they love these characters so much. And these characters can be taken away from you any point.
Indeed. I don't want to take it too far into the Game of Thrones discussion about the show itself, but yeah, what was I going to say? Shit. I completely lost my train of thought again. This has happened before, folks, in these episodes where I completely lose where I'm trying to be here. I don't know.
We'll just sit here and wait
keep
here.
Going.
It's all right.
No, just keep going.
Nope, we're waiting. Figure it out, Gary.
No, seriously, I have no idea what I was going to say. This is one of those instances where I actually will never remember what I was going to say. So just keep moving on.
It'll click with you when we stop recording. You're like, oh, shit, that's what it was.
Yeah, damn it all.
But moving on, I think this is actually... I remember a few episodes back we were talking about Shadow of War microtransactions where it didn't feel right. It just didn't feel like that was the right move, but I felt like what I learned this article today felt like the right move. Apparently a developer on Shadow of War who passed away unfortunately due to cancer has now been immortalized in the game in a future DLC. So Monolith executive producer Michael Forgey, who died of a brain tumor last year at the age of 43, apparently appears in Shadow of War as a DLC character, Forthog, the Orc Slayer. I think the DLC would be about $3.50. And the Forthog will on occasion appear to one-hit kill whichever enemy the player is up against. So if you got down, I saw the video of it, if you get knocked down, like you're about to get killed, like you fail the time sequence, this guy, like the mysterious stranger in Fallout, will just pop up seemingly out of nowhere to save you and just walk away, which I thought was kind of cool. And also, WB apparently will donate $3.50 of the DLC if you purchase it to the family all the way through December 31st of 2019. I think
that's awesome.
The article state, which I thought that was really cool, and they did a nice trailer where he had like badass moments and they commemorated him, and I just think that's great that they did this, and it sort of brought me back to kind of wanting this game now specifically so I could purchase that DLC. So it's like a tribute to this developer who put time and effort into this game and obviously was loved by his office or the other developers, and so they immortalized him. And they took time and effort to do this for him. So that's really nice.
I really can't think of a better way. I think if you ask like any game developer, I almost have to believe that they would want this for themselves if they were like to die. Like, I want to be immortalized in what I loved. And even for me, not a game developer, I feel like I would love to have this done for me, like at some point. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to die, so here you go. Like, it'd be such a different way of being remembered. I don't know. I don't want to get off on the death discussion here. This is not what this podcast is about.
Go for it, Gary. We're just two friends. We're just talking.
One of the things that I've never really liked funerals. I hate funerals. I mean, obviously, who likes a funeral? But I just always think there's other ways that people should be remembered other than just like a viewing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't know. I just think that this is such a cool way. You remember someone as they were when they were alive, and it's just a cool way to memorialize someone that you loved. So.
And it's also kind of cool that I don't know if they may have done this on purpose, but in like the game he kind of comes out of nowhere, kind of like a quote unquote angel, where he just comes and saves the day, saves your character, which is a very good touch. And he looks fucking badass. He looks like he has a guitar, but it also has an axe on it and like little spikes at the end too. It's fucking rad. But I've seen this before, like in I think World of Warcraft. Blizzard has done this in World of Warcraft, which that is a game where you can be immortalized for, it seems like, forever, because that game just continues, and it's crazy. And I just think it's a good gesture.
Wasn't there a gamer, I think, that died or something like that, and they put him in the game as like a character or something like that?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I can't remember specifically, but yeah, I remember something like that happening, or at least it was. They've
done that a lot of times with like. I don't want to say a lot of times, but I've seen that before with the classic Leroy Jenkins. Have you seen that before?
Yeah.
Where they finally immortalized him as an actual NPC character, and now he's like a Hearthstone card. It's kind of a cool thing. And they've done things like along those lines, I believe, anyway. But moving on, apparently Twitch is adding new extensions to add customizations for streamers, like games and music. I put this in here specifically because you're a famous streamer nowadays, Gary. Am I right? You got those 8 followers.
Yeah, buddy. Working my way to 25. My way.
You're going to get there. I believe in you. Maybe I'll just give you the because I don't think we're getting to 100 reviews by the time anytime soon. So maybe I'll just give you the Xbox to get the giveaway so you can hop up to like 1,000 followers at once because people love giveaways. But I'll continue on with the actual article or portions of the article. Apparently, social video platform Twitch has announced that it will enable its broadcasters to customize their channel pages with interactive experiences. That means broadcasters will be able to add things like polls, music, games, and Streamlabs loyalty and tipping platform to their live stream. The new customization option could enhance growing the relationship between creators of live streams and their communities. This could lead to better engagement, more dedicated fans, and new ways to monetize them. Twitch partner Streamlabs has launched a new loyalty points app on the extension platform, which rewards fans for coming back to the page. It has over 20 extensions that will be available soon, including Streamlabs loyalty, music polls, and games. Muxy, an analytics company that provides information about your streams and popularity, is providing overlays and leaderboards, and the Amazon is providing its gear on the Amazon app. The third-party developers can begin building extension for creators today, starting from Twitch's updated developer portal at dev.twitch.tv. Developers will have access to free assets, hosting, and fan-out messaging on the extension platform, making getting started easy. Extensions will be showcased in a lightweight extension manager accessible to all creators. Gary, as a famous Twitch streamer, does that get you jazzed?
Absolutely, and it's because I'm not famous that I'm very, very excited for this sort of thing. It's one of those things where I really do enjoy Twitch streaming just for the idea of it. It's just kind of cool that at any moment someone could come in, say hi, and get into discussion with them. That's always fun to me. I just like the idea that this will actually add those tools into Twitch, though. Like you're going to have the opportunity now to interact with people more than, say, like for me, for example, I may have like 3 or 4 viewers at a time. You know, getting that extra person to come in isn't always easy. They're not always going to just be like, "Oh, I like this guy because he has a beard." You know, like, they're gonna.
You do have a glorious beard, Gary. Let's be real.
I do that. I appreciate that.
It's not too bushy. It's not like the dirty look or the lumberjack look. It's very well kept. I appreciate it. You have a solid beard game. You gotta
keep it fresh looking. But yeah, it's sometimes hard to get that extra fan in there or some random person to come watch you. So it'd be kind of cool, like with this, for example, that you could actually interact with people, get to know them, and it can kind of be a fun way of getting to know more people and hopefully building that follower base or that fan base that you need basically to become a actual Twitch streamer.
Yeah, and I think it's cool that they have certain things where if you come back to the channel, it actually can give you more beneficial. I think that's what you were mentioning prior, where it can be difficult when somebody hits that follow button, having them come back for a specific reason. Not that you're not awesome and people won't come back to see you. It's just, sometimes people hit subscribe and they just don't even give it a second thought, even if they see it in their feed. Like, for example, YouTube, I subscribe to so many channels, I don't always go back to them because I'm not feeling it at the moment. But if they offer a reason to go back, maybe I'll go back and dive into the cacophony of videos that they have, the fucking plethora of videos that can dive me in that rabbit hole and take me away for 5 hours just watching random bullshit on the internet.
And that's the thing. It's like you can be the most entertaining person in the world, but on Twitch it's totally different when you're streaming in front of maybe not a lot of people and you kind of got to keep that going. You got to like kind of create an atmosphere. It's hard to do that sometimes just on your own and just talking about what you're doing in the game. So like I said, this can add just a few extra options for you that can make it easier for you to, communicate. And apparently, by the way, on a side note, I've wanted to have Spotify on my Twitch stream, like listening to music in the background, but
can't you get in trouble for that?
I don't know, because what's funny is I think a lot of streamers do this exact thing, but apparently it really isn't allowed because it's copyright infringement, which is why on some streams you'll see that they've muted portions of the stream. I thought that was interesting, but yeah.
So what they all just random? Oops, sorry, dropped my pen. Do they randomly just mute their stream just so it doesn't continue like the song, or how does that exactly work?
It won't be muted like live, but if you look at like their old videos or old past broadcasts, basically. it'll have portions muted. But it doesn't make any sense because these people will they'll be playing music the entire stream. So I don't know why just portions are being eliminated. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, the fact that they're adding in an extension here for music and stuff, I'm interested to see what that's about because I like listening to music and I like playing video games at the same time sometimes. So, something to look forward to.
Can I be completely honest with you, Gary, right now? I fucking hate it when I hear streams or people streaming and they have the fucking stupid house music or club or dubstep music. I'm like, what the fuck? That's not music.
Well,
I respect it. It's like hip hop, maybe pop. I'm not a huge fan of country, but I think you're a fan of country, so I'll give it a pass.
I'm a fan of everything.
I just don't like a fucking just a bunch of noises. It seems like combined together to make a somewhat of a beat. Mind you, our intro is kind of like that, but that's just the way things are.
There's some house music I do like. I like more of the chill music, but like on the other hand, I really can't stand like the robots having sex music. Like it's like, all right, I don't know, man. This is a little much for me. I'm gonna go somewhere else. Try to have a heart attack. I never thought to
consider that dubstep is robots having sex. I did not ever picture that.
Oh, you haven't heard that before?
No,
you haven't heard the terminology?
Never.
Oh my god,
term.
my freshman year in college. It's like it was my first game with the team. One of the guys was playing. They always, for some reason, felt the need to play like house music and dubstep music before games, and I would always just kind of want to put a gun in my mouth. But there was one of my coaches was like, "What the fuck is this? It sounds like two robots fucking right now." I was like, "Yep, that's about it."
You never told me that story before. That's kind of funny. That's pretty clever. Yeah. You should have not told the story so you could take complete credit for that insult to dubstep.
I'm an honest guy, I'm a good dude.
You know what I want to do? I want to start up a Twitch stream and jam to my Pandora stations, and I'm sure at some point I'll switch it because I'm just feeling the Disney music, from Disney musicals. Yeah. I feel like they're underrated. I feel like people hate on them too much. Well, actually, not many people. I think secretly people just enjoy fucking jamming out to some Disney classic music. Like, I love jamming out to Lion King, like, oh, I Can't Wait to Be King, or Mulan, Be a Man, or whatever it's called.
Does it get you hyped?
Oh, it gets me so hyped. I go back to old or young Adam days where I watch specifically Mulan, and I see that portion where it's like Be a Man, and I get so hyped because I remember watching the movie and getting excited when she's climbing up the pole to get the arrow. I'm like, go, go, go! Obviously, I'm in like a higher pitch. I'm like, go, go! Because I'm a little kid. But I did enjoy me some Mulan, and I feel like those songs are always so inspiring. It's always so, momentous and so grandiose. Especially like nowadays, like Frozen, like Let It Go, or Mulan, not Mulan, Moana. Fantastic soundtrack. Love that soundtrack. Lin-Manuel Samuel. He just seems like he keeps adding on names to his name. Keeps on adding. Yeah. That's just
some exciting soundtrack. Shit.
I'm sure people love listening to me rambling on. But, I mean, there's not much gaming news going on right now, especially because we haven't played anything. I know people have been talking about how they've been loving Uncharted Lost Legacy came out. I thought about getting it, never got around to it. No, it's just, I haven't had, like, the drive to go play a game. I mean, Everybody's Golf, apparently, I think people have been really enjoying on the PS4. It seems like it's kind of like a Mario Golf style gameplay style game where people have been enjoying and playing against each other and all that jazz. But I don't know, nothing's really tickled my fancy. Nothing's tickled my giblets lately, Gary. And
see, this is exactly what I was going through
and I gave
like, for
shit.
Months on end, and you laughed at me for it.
You said that there's no games out there for you, and I am admitting there are games out there that I would enjoy, but I just don't have the urge or the drive to go play them right now. Like, I'm not feeling. Okay. I'm not in the gaming, like actually physically playing the game. I do enjoy doing this because I enjoy chatting with you, Gary, and chatting with the Jersey kids and and still staying in touch with what's going on in the video game world. But setting time aside, I right now I've been more into reading. Like I mentioned, I've been reading Team of Rivals about Abraham Lincoln. That's a fucking juicy book. That book is so fucking thick. I'm on like page 400 now. 300 more pages to go. Yay. But I've been reading about or learning other like coding languages I've mentioned plenty of times, which I'm sure people are tired of me hearing about that. But what's up?
No, yeah, I totally get you though. I mean, I've had times. I have some days where I just come home and I'm like, oh my God, like how can I even? I don't have the energy or the focus right now to sit down and play a game. Like a lot of the games I need to play requires me to be focused like 100% of the time, especially like first-person shooters. It just isn't possible for me to play and have fun, get my ass kicked. Like I can't get my ass kicked and have fun at the same. Well, sometimes I can have fun getting my ass kicked, but it has to be with the knowledge of knowing that I will be improving. You know, like it's like I am getting my ass kicked because I'm bad, not I'm getting my ass kicked because I'm like exhausted or not mentally there to play the game. So yeah, that's the difference. But yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from.
I think it's been a lot of outside features that have sort of drained me, whether it's work and other things that are going on in my life, like planning certain things for, me and Marta planning that event out can be. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of it, just random details I never even thought about planning the engagement or wedding and things along those natures that you don't really realize until you're finally in it, where you have to look at so many details, and that can be a little draining. I mean, it's exciting, but responding to people through emails and talking with people can be draining. I talked to a photographer. Me and Marta talked to a photographer for 2 fucking hours at Starbucks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For no reason, it felt like. She was telling us things that we didn't even think about yet, like a timeline and all this shit, and we're looking at each other like, oh, another thing we have to figure out together, and
dude,
it's just draining, man.
Weddings are great when the day is there. The days come, you're at the wedding. Other than that, it's hell. I've seen it firsthand with my sister. My sister and my mom wanted to kill each other the entire time. And then the day came. It was the best wedding I've ever been to, hands down. I've been to a few weddings now. Awesome wedding, most fun I've ever had. In the reception and everything else after that, so much fun. I was very hungover the next day, but it was a blast. So yeah, I mean, this is of course real life talk here. Hashtag real life talk on Two Jersey Kids.
I mean, that's what we do. We're real people and we talk about it, and we're best friends. So we talk about it. Sometimes we talk before the air. Sometimes we talk on the air. But I'm sure people love it. But yeah, it's just a lot of things that have been draining. Like I've been trying to. Like I've been mentioning to you, better myself by learning things outside of work and trying to get better skills so I can move on eventually. I don't know when to another job and just continue my career and hopefully start other things that I want to work on, be my own boss eventually, yada, yada, yada. Start another podcast about history. Who knows? Things are in there. Doing a politics podcast with you. Who knows? It's in the air, people.
Hey.
But moving on to the next article. Apparently, PUBG has now beat Dota 2 for concurrent players, which apparently it seemed like the impossible. It had more simultaneous players online through the Steam PC gaming service than Dota 2, according to the data tracking site Steam Spy. This is an incredible achievement because few releases have ever come close to threatening Dota 2's concurrent player number. And that makes sense because Dota 2 is free to play and it belongs to Valve, the same company that operates and owns Steam. This feat is even more impressive because Battlegrounds costs $30 to play and is still in early access for an unfinished product. So it's overcoming a even higher barrier to entry and an extreme lack of polish. I don't know if I would call PUBG. Is there extreme lack of polish? I know you're shaking your head. But it seems like it's somewhat of a polished game. I mean, maybe not servers-wise, but gameplay feature-wise.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's an early access game. That's the first thing that always needs to be said. So, yeah, it's going to have a lack of polish. It absolutely does. But it's the best battle royale game out there right now.
God,
and
do you remember a few episodes way back when we gave shit to people hopping on the PUBG bandwagon just because they're upset with H1Z1? We're like, oh, we'll see if this sticks.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it fucking did, and I feel like a fucking jackass for saying it.
I in a way, I do too. And it's one of those things where I just, typically, I can watch a game and say, all right, I'm going to like this. All right, I'm not going to like this. But once I started playing it, I started to like it more and more. But yeah, it definitely has a lack of polish to it. But this is honestly unbelievable. I really don't
completely agree.
I mean, the fact that it's $30, like they were saying here, it's $30 and it still beats out Dota 2, which is free to play. Crazy, insane. It still has a long way to go, I think, before it's going to be fully officially released. And I'm interested to see where it goes from there. But
I'm trying to wonder like what PUBG could actually be. Like, will it be a Titan for years to come? With concurrent players and streamers, and if they keep adding, like we mentioned last episode, they add new maps, new things to play in. It'd be actually kind of cool if they have a variety where they have multiple maps, so it's not like the same map over and over and over again, so you sort of have to be on your toes, and there's different play styles based on different maps where you can be good on one map because you can take it slower, or you can be better on another map because it's more close quarters, like the new desert map that's coming out with like a lot of like 9-story or 10-story buildings and things along that nature. I
think that, those are great ideas, and I think that's something that they're probably going to be looking at going forward. And the one thing I think this game needs really though is like just the money. I think they have the money. Obviously, it's an early access game. They've made tons of cash. I just think that they need maybe more of a team, like a development team. I'm not sure how big their team is, but I think going forward, like you said, if they add more features to the game, if they add more maps, add more weapons, add different, depending on what, like you said, what map you're playing on, they add things where the game goes faster or the circle closes faster, so you have to fight more close-range fights. As long as they keep adding to it, as long as they keep improving, this game could absolutely be a Titan, because right now it is very fun to play, and they have a good foundation for what could be improved on in the future.
I think it'd be fucking sick, because how many? It's like 100 players.
Yeah, 100 players drop down.
It'd be fucking sick island. If they had it where it was just like elimination, but with teams, and it was like 50 versus 50 on like a smaller map, and one started on one side, one started on the other, and they just converged into one city. That'd be fucking nuts. Yeah. And they all start with nothing, or like a bat or something. So they have to sprint to where guns are on the individual side. Whoever develops PUBG, I forget the developer's name, but take my ideas, but then pay me, please.
Well, Bluehole's the publisher, I believe,
right. And that is correct.
And then PlayerUnknown is obviously the creative or the director of the everything. So
director of the everything,
all
the Battleground games he has his hand in. I think that's actually true. I think he helped develop King of the Kill for H1Z1. Yeah. He did Arma, the DayZ, I believe.
The mods,
all the mods and everything. That's working from the ground up, Gary. I know we talked about this prior to he worked himself. That's what his passion was, and developing a battleground game, and see where he is now. Look at me now, bitches. He's making
Chris
the paper.
Brown, is that you?
Yeah.
Chris Brown?
Look at me now. Oh, look at me now. Oh, the guy's a dick.
See, if we were a legit podcast, we could insert the song right now into the podcast.
Oh, wow, you're putting that on me? You're putting that on me?
No, absolutely not. I'm just saying, if we had the financial capabilities and could just like buy these crazy software programs for podcasts, we could probably do it.
That's true. Or if we had like our own producer
in a studio.
Yeah, that'd be fucking great. That'd be great. Yeah. I would love to be. Here we go. I would love to be a professional podcaster where it's not just video games, even though I do love talking about video games, but I would love talking about other things like history I mentioned, or current events, or other things going on in the geek culture and all that jazz. But, you have to make money doing it, so we would have to start getting capital when it comes to certain projects we work on. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll be in a studio, me and you, just shooting back and forth, the two Jersey kids, on different things. One day is one thing.
All I want is that on-air sign to come on in the studio, and then we've made it, folks. We've been there. We're there. We're there now. Oh, man, it'd be sick.
Yeah. Eventually we'll get there. I believe in us. I think we're a good combo, Gary. I think the Jersey kids out there believe too. But moving on to the final two things, it's not really articles, but PlayStation Plus has been announced for September. You'll be getting Infamous Second Son for PS4. Solid game. Especially, I was new to Infamous, and this is a good entry if you don't know Infamous. I don't think there's too many callbacks to Infamous 1 and 2 on the PS3, so a solid game to hop into. Fantastic. You should check it out. Strike Vector EX, also PS4, then for PS3, Truck Racer and Handball 2016. Just, if you're going to release this shit for PS3, just get rid of it. Get fucking rid of it. I'm sorry people who own a PS3, but seriously, come on. They release so many things on PS3. If you're a PS Plus owner for PS3, that you should be fine. You should have plenty of games already by now. I keep hitting my mic because I don't know why. But then you have We Are Doomed for PS Vita, which is cross-buy with PS4, and Heto Full Boyfriend for PS Vita and PS4. And then games with gold, you can download Forza Motorsports 5, the Racing Game of the Year edition of, I think it's for the full month of September, what it seems like, because I was waiting, because sometimes it has certain dates for September where you can only download from this time to this time. But then you also have Oxenfree, which is a well-known, I think, indie-developed game. People have adored it, releasing free for download September 16th to October 15th. So 2 solid games for games with gold. I didn't put the 361 in there because I kind of forgot, so sorry about that. But Forza Motorsport, fantastic. I saw one of our listeners, Gala Prime, and mentioned that he maybe hop into Forza because, one, it's free, and then also Oxenfree. And Oxenfree has gotten some play now because, one, it's games with gold, and then 2, mainly because people fucking love the Switch. It got announced for the Switch. So that's another game out there. I know people are enjoying the Switch. I know it's been selling still well in Japan, which makes sense. And thanks for liking my tweet while I'm talking, Gary. I see where your interests lie and not paying attention to what I'm saying.
Hey, what else am I going to look at in the Google Docs? There's nothing else besides what we just talked about. Damn it!
That is true.
I'm listening. I am listening intently right now.
As you like my tweet. But speaking of Twitter, you can follow the podcast at 2 Jersey Kids. I don't think I ever mentioned that, which is the first time in a while.
In a while, maybe. Yeah. But you have.
In the podcast, for sure. I just know how to promote the... That keeps reminding me of when you get a lot of followers in the future, Gary, because I believe in you as a streamer. I believe in you as a person, Gary. You got to make sure to mention this podcast every chance you get.
Okay, absolutely.
If people check out the stream that I did for Destiny 2 beta for PS4, they would hear the insane plugs that I did for the 2 Jersey Kids
that was a little much. That was a little too much there.
When no one was listening. Good times, Gary. Man, I love talking to you, man. It's a good time. Yeah. Even though we had an hour conversation about life prior to this podcast.
That could have been a podcast, by the way, in itself.
Yeah, it could have been. I don't know. It's always because you have the same, not ideals. We sort of differ on certain things, but you're the same down to earth person that can talk honestly and not get, angry over if we differ in opinions. So
exactly. Imagine that, people. Imagine two people that can just talk about ideas. It's crazy.
It's crazy
in today's world.
Yeah, we were talking about that, but I mean, reading Team of Rivals, it was even worse. Like the insaneness that happened back then. Like people, apparently, I found out. I forget exactly what happened, but they voted against a certain. Somebody made a speech, and somebody was so upset on the southern side that a relative of a senator came in with he was 60-year-old with a cane. The guy was working at his senator desk, and he just came in and just hit him aside the head and beat him. And the guy had to go to the hospital. I don't think he ever recovered to the full extent. So I know it seems scary nowadays, like the craziness on some of the extreme sides, but. It's been crazier, and I think we'll be fine and get through it. That's just my opinion on things. I feel like in the end, not the good side, but the reasonable people in the middle end up on top. They end up those ideas, no matter how far, because in certain decades it swings one way or swings too much the other way. Eventually, it evens out in the middle.
Yeah, I feel you. But that's a discussion for another podcast, folks.
It's true.
Will it happen? Will it be coming up?
Who knows? But, Gary, before we go, is there anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to throw out there? Anything you want to plug? God damn it, I got to do all the stuff of not promoting this podcast, but putting the podcast together. And, oh, man, it's going to be hopefully we'll get it out by 7:30. I think I'm pretty quick when it comes to it. So if we were done recording soon, it should be out by then. So, but sorry, I didn't mean to hog the spotlight I normally do. So what's up?
Well, so it's obviously Labor Day weekend. I'm going to be chilling all weekend, long weekend. I love it. No work on Monday. Awesome. Which means I'll probably be streaming a little bit longer and a little bit more than I have been. This earlier week I couldn't stream Destiny 2. The first night was kind of my stupid fault. I thought that so OBS isn't fully supported with Destiny 2. You can do window capture, but you can't do like the full game capture for whatever reason. I knew this, but I didn't know how to combat it, so I couldn't stream the game. Next day, Twitch goes down, so I couldn't stream it then either. So I couldn't stream Destiny 2 at all. Only could play it. So I want to make up for it all by playing some PUBG and maybe something else. I don't know. I haven't found another game to stream yet, but I'm looking forward to streaming this weekend, kind of hanging out, chilling, just taking it easy. It's gonna be nice weather too, apparently. At least cool fall weather, but looking forward to it.
Yeah,
but,
I was jealous. Marta got today off as well. So she has a 4-day weekend.
Oh, nice.
I'm jealous.
Nice.
Man.
Yeah, that sucks. Well, for you it sucks, and for everyone else it sucks, except for her. But yeah. But
but
that's
3-day
just
weekends
that's
are always
me.
great. If you're working, 3-day weekends are the bomb.com.
Exactly. Yeah, that's me.
Anything else?
What are you doing, Adam?
Me?
I'm spent.
I have a family engagement party to go to, so that's exciting stuff. It's going to be on Sunday, I believe. Oh, yeah, because it's 3-day weekend, so it's Sunday. But tomorrow I got to do a lot of stuff to set it up, so whoo, doctor, that's going to be fun. Yeah, and Marta and her friends should be coming back sometime tonight. I believe they're out right now getting dinner with another friend in D.C., so who knows when they're rolling back in.
Getting lit?
Yeah, they're getting lit. They're getting trashed. Just kidding. I don't think they actually are. Mark's just not like that. But yeah, that's about it for my weekend. Hopefully, I'll hop into some gaming. Maybe not. I'll probably read some more. Hopefully, finish. Maybe I'll have time on the day off to just finish 300 pages worth of that book. But I'm really digging it. It's really well written. I got it. I think. Yeah, I got it. I got it at the quality podcast, quality audio right here. But I got it at the book fair that I mentioned way back when, where all the books were like for cheap. Like you get a book for like $3 or $4, and I purchased this one. I think it was probably because it's such a large book. It was probably 6 or 7. But the author in there dedicated it to somebody, to Paul, but actually signed it, which was kind of cool. So I have an author signature, but it wasn't dedicated to me. But maybe if I give it to my friend Paul, then he can feel like it's dedicated to him.
True. Very true. That's actually pretty cool. Christmas gift ideas.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, that has been episode 53 of the Two Jersey Kids podcast. We are now a week past our anniversary, so that's exciting stuff. We appreciate all you Jersey kids for listening. If you're a new listener, I appreciate you making it all the way to the end. I hope we entertained you. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Remember, we are not complete insiders, so we don't play video games 24/7 like a lot of podcasts out there, but we do try to offer outsider opinion because we grew up with video games, and we sort of think we have a different take when it comes to certain things, and I don't know, we're just outsiders, so we appreciate all you guys staying here, subscribing. Please go rate us on iTunes when you get a chance, or Stitcher. We're everywhere. You can tune in, SoundCloud, YouTube now. You can check our Facebook page, Twitter, all the things. We are everywhere. Gary, make sure to say bye.
Adios, amigos. See you next week.
All right, Jersey kids. Until next time, have a good weekend. Have a good Labor Day. See you next Friday. Bye.